Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Innovate Finance, our podcast series where we speak to industry experts on financial innovation and what's next for FinTech. Our podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Music, and Google Podcasts. I'm Janine Hirt, CEO at Innovate Finance, and today I have to say I'm so excited to host two dynamic leaders from KPMG's FinTech team, Hannah Dobson, partner and co-lead of the UK FinTech and crypto team, and Lauren Taylor, Associate Director and FinTech Sector Lead at KPMG in the UK. Hannah Dobson is a VAT partner who looks after many FinTech businesses for KPMG, and Lauren Taylor leads KPMG's FinTech sector coverage across the UK and helps KPMG's FinTech clients access the support and services they may need as they grow. Hannah and Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Janine.
So let's kick off because I'm really excited about this conversation and also particularly excited to have two powerhouse females on with us today to share your perspectives. So let's look first at KPMG's FinTech team. Hannah, as KPMG's FinTech co-lead, would you be able to provide some more insights into KPMG's FinTech team and your key priorities and initiatives?
Janine, thank you. Yes, I'd love to. And again, thanks so much for having us. We have a really active and successful FinTech team here at KPMG, as I think you know. The team started 5 or 6 years ago now, and it's actually morphed into what it is today. And year on year, we've doubled not only in revenue growth, but also in people growth. And what I mean by that is people at KPMG that actually want to work within our FinTech and crypto team. We look after now more than 120 really fast-growing FinTech and crypto clients across the UK. We have a very active business in London and a growing business across Scotland and other regions in the UK. And some real focus for us for the year ahead is looking at our international business. So this is our sort of FinTech leads across the world, all coming together to sort of build a much wider team globally. Lauren, I don't know whether you want to say a few words on that as well, do you?
Thank you very much, Hannah, and great to be here, Janine. So a few things just to add to that from what Hannah's mentioned. We use the term FinTech very broadly, so we work with a range of different subsectors here at KPMG. So that's everything from challenger banks, payments businesses, regtechs, insurtechs, and actually increasingly a number of crypto and digital assets business as well. And we support FinTechs with their growth journeys in a number of ways. And Hannah, I don't know if you wanted to bring some of those key areas to life with some of the services we cover.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I mean, at the last count, I think we had 17 different service lines that we provide to our FinTech businesses at KPMG. And the main one, I suppose, is our tax service line. Tax is quite a difficult area, particularly indirect tax for our FinTech businesses. So it's often the first service that we do provide, but we also provide services from our KPMG law business, from our regulatory business, from consulting and many other areas of the firm as well. And we all work very closely as a FinTech team. So we have specific leads in each areas of these business to provide services to our FinTech clients, because the market, for us, the FinTech market is very different from our core FS business. It's very entrepreneurial. It's very sort of quick, and advice is needed fast. So we have specific people looking at these particular sectors.
Really interesting. Can you build up on a bit more about how KPMG typically supports fast-growing FinTech businesses?
Absolutely. So in addition to some of the areas we've just spoken about, there's a number of interesting things we have going on at KPMG. So the first one to mention is we've entered a joint venture with Acceleris, which is a VC advisory firm. So this happened a couple of years ago now. So we now have a team called KPMG Acceleris as part of the broader firm, and they support businesses with early stage fundraising. Sweet spot very much is Series A, and they are sector agnostic, but do support a number of FinTechs on that journey. So that's really exciting, and just another area where we are very active in terms of supporting these businesses at their early stage of growth. The other thing to also mention is that we have a number of alliances in place with FinTech and tech providers. So there's a couple of examples in the broader FinTech space where we do work with businesses. So the first one is with Quantexa. So we will work very closely with Quantexa to help organisations defend against fraud, money laundering and illicit finance. And the other one is Thought Machine, so helping our banking clients to move beyond legacy systems by migrating to cloud-based platforms that bring scalability, fully automated processes, and improved data security. So not only are we able to offer the services to help the business themselves grow, but also supporting businesses with also ultimately their go-to-market approach in an alliance as well. And then more widely, there's a lot of stuff that we're supporting with. One of the key things we do is run quarterly events for fintechs to network with their peers. Most recently, we run an event on international expansion, which was incredibly popular. So we covered expansion to the US, Europe, and the Middle East, really seeing the Middle East in particular as a region of interest for many of our clients at the moment. So supporting as much as we can with those kind of more informal networking opportunities as well. And worth mentioning, given we're members of Innovate Finance, we do a lot with the team there as well. So always receive great feedback on those as well. But Hannah, perhaps I could just hand over to you in case there was anything further to add there.
Thank you, Lauren. I actually just wanted to emphasise a couple of things, but most importantly, this alliance stroke partnership that we have with KPMG Acceleris. This is a really important part of KPMG's business, and particularly our fintech business. So this is where we help businesses, as Lauren mentioned, raise funds at the early stages of their journey. And one thing in particular we know about women founders in the fintech space is that they actually struggle to raise that VC funding. And it's often a mix of things that perhaps there aren't enough female founders out in the pool of talent to actually get in front of VC firms. Or it could be that there is just lack of support along the way. But we want to emphasize that for any women thinking about or having started a fintech business, please come and talk to us at KPMG. We can support you right from the very early stage of your business through mentoring and through female partners within our fintech team, which will support you. But we can then put you in front of KPMG Acceleris to help you raise some of that funding that you might need, or if not to raise funding, to give you some hints and tips on how you can actually grow your business and where you could get funds from in the future. And we work very closely with a partner in KPMG Acceleris, a lady called Sarah Abrams. So again, there's all that female support there that you actually need as part of that business. And a key growth area for us as a firm is our alliances through our fintech team over the next 12 to 24 months. Lauren's mentioned 2 alliances that we have that are very successful. If you have a fintech business where you think that perhaps KPMG could go to market with you, I'm beginning to worry that this sounds a bit like an advert, but it isn't. We are so keen to support you and support women in particular that have fintech businesses where we think there's an opportunity to work together with them. Please do come and talk to us in the fintech team at KPMG. We would love to hear from you.
It's really amazing. And I've seen both of you engage and support so many of the companies that have gone from really startup through to high growth and are transforming financial services for the better. I want to change tack slightly and focus a bit on women in fintech and diversity initiatives more broadly, because I know it's something that you are both very, very passionate about. You're also strong supporters of the Innovate Finance Women in Fintech program and our broader diversity piece too. I'd love to hear a bit more from both of you. What is KPMG doing to support specifically female founders and women in fintech?
Absolutely. Hannah, shall I pick this one up?
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. So a number of areas where we're supporting female-founded and female-led businesses in all of the areas above across fintech. And obviously it's worth mentioning we're very proud gold sponsors of the Women in Fintech Power List this year. It's obviously run by Innovate Finance. And it's worth mentioning that Hannah and I have both been on that power list ourselves, which has been absolutely wonderful recognition. So more widely, there's a number of areas where we champion female founders. One of the areas we wanted to mention was a program that's run by our business called Founded by Her, which is a program that supports female founders with securing their Series A fundraising. So this is an initiative that's run across different parts of KPMG. So we've got our KPMG Acceleris team involved. We've got a partnership with Wealthy Her Network, which is all involved in that as well. And this is really supporting businesses with both their investment journey, but also helping them to set their business up for future growth as well. So whilst this is for female founders more widely, we also support a number of fintechs within this. Separately, we also run a tech innovator competition, which is a global competition for scaling tech businesses. now in its 11th year. We've had over 400 applications last year just in the UK, and that was very much across all of the regions. The final is hosted in Lisbon at Web Summit, and last year the UK competed against 21 other member firms and representatives from those countries. And as part of that, the applicants get a number of mentor hours, networking, a load of showcasing and exposure as part of the competition. And again, we've supported a number of fintechs throughout that competition, and also a number of female founders as well. Hannah, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, thank you, Lauren. I think you've covered it really well. I mean, our goal certainly at KPMG and particularly in our fintech team is to make sure that where there is an opportunity to support women in fintech, we take it. So as Lauren has mentioned, sponsoring the Innovate Finance Women in Fintech this year was a really important thing for us to do as a firm. And we will be looking forward over the next 12 months to other initiatives that we can support around all forms of diversity for the fintech space.
And this is so important because we know, even according to our Innovate Finance investment landscape this year, only 10% of investment into UK fintech is currently going to companies that have either a female CEO or a female co-founder. And unfortunately, this year, actually, the majority of those firms only have a female co-founder, and most of that money isn't going into firms that are being led solely by females. So great progress in terms of diversifying the senior leadership, but equally, we really need to see more progress and more momentum. So your initiatives are really very, very welcome. I want to touch on another program, which I've heard you both speak about as well, which I believe is called It's Her Future, which is a dedicated KPMG-wide program designed to tackle gender diversity, both within KPMG and beyond. I'd love to hear a little bit more, and also maybe how both of you personally have contributed to and benefited from some of these initiatives.
Absolutely. So It's Her Future is a brilliant award-winning flagship Women in Technology program that we run here at KPMG. So this was founded back in 2015, and it's really designed to tackle gender diversity across our technology departments and improve the gender parity in senior leadership roles. So as many of you will be aware, across the UK, women make up 53% of the workforce, but only 24% of the technology workforce. And this program is really designed to support women at every stage of their career through technical learning, mentoring, networking, and a number of other initiatives as well. And also as part of that, we see a really important element is to be supporting schools, universities and organisations externally to help address the lack of inclusion and diversity in tech, both from school all the way through into industry as well. So at KPMG, we have now a 50-50 gender split at the graduate level across technology. And the focus of the programme very much is on supporting retention and progression across senior leadership level as well. So there's a few things we've done. So we've removed STEM degree requirements and implemented the use of gender inclusive language and job descriptions, which has resulted in a steady increase in the number of female job offers that we've been able to make across technology. And that's risen from 36% to 74%. So a really, really positive initiative at KPMG. And obviously more widely, we are committed to having that gender diversity. So we are committed to reaching a 40-40-20 representation at partner level by 2030. So that's minimum 40% female, 40% male, and then a 20% flex, just given the moving nature of the firm. And it's also worth mentioning at KPMG, we've got some fantastic senior women, but working under our chair, Bina Mehta, is absolutely fantastic. And she's been a real champion for the work that we're doing in the startup and scale-up space as well. But Hannah, perhaps I can hand over to you to talk a little bit more about how you've supported some of the initiatives we have at KPMG and what we've also benefited from ourselves as well.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. I would just add, obviously in here that I co-lead the fintech space at KPMG, which I'm hugely proud of. And Lauren obviously leads our coverage sector as well. But we also have another lady, Katie Greensmith, who works very closely with Lauren. So John Hallsworth is the co-lead of the fintech team with myself, but we are, shall I say, a very gender diverse team, erring very much on the side of women leading the space, the fintech space at KPMG, which we are hugely proud of. And in particular, our fintech team at KPMG is very successful and it attracts a lot of attention within the firm. And Lauren and I and others within the fintech space always encourage, so we say, other women to come and join us and provide support to them. And we mentor a number of women that come and work within our fintech team. because we want these ladies obviously to be the fintech leaders within KPMG of the future. So it's very important to us that we have that diversity across our fintech team and that we act as role models for these ladies coming through.
And I actually want to build on this point about role models then here as well, because one of the reasons I was so excited to hear from you both today is to look at what KPMG is doing and how they're supporting, but also to hear about your personal journeys. Because for so many women that are out there right now, they look at you, they see success, and it's really helpful to hear what some of the struggles, what some of the challenges were to get to that point. So I would love to turn to both of you now and hear some of your insights into your professional journeys and maybe your backgrounds. And Hannah, I'd love to start with you if you could tell us a little bit about what led you to your current role in KPMG.
Yeah, thank you, Janine. I suppose it's in a strange way a bit of a story, if you will. So I joined KPMG as a partner almost 10 years ago now. And I actually worked in another part of the firm at the time where we were growing our entrepreneurial businesses. So I'm a tax partner, but I stepped away from tax for a little while to actually work in that part of the business. And then as part of that work, we suddenly started to notice some very small fintech clients that were coming to KPMG to ask for some advice. And the firm at the time really didn't know what to do with these businesses. They were viewed very much as high risk. But we noticed, and I noticed in particular, that they were having some significant tax challenges. So at this point, we started to talk to them about some tax advice. We built up a program within KPMG to manage what we perceived to be were relatively high-risk clients. And suddenly we started to see more of them come to KPMG for tax support. And then personally, at that point, I actually transferred back into a tax role at KPMG. And I suppose you could say at that point, the FinTech team was born. These FinTech clients came with me and we supported them all the way on their tax journey. And we suddenly started to notice that there were more and more FinTech clients coming to KPMG. So this is sort of going back 5 years now. And as part of my role, I then started to lead the tax practice FinTech team. And then before you know it, move forward the clock, sort of 4 or 5 years. And here I am today as co-lead of KPMG's FinTech team across the UK. There are always challenges along the way. And I would say particularly challenges for a female. I'm a mum. I have 3 children. I have to manage a very busy, very busy professional life along with juggling 3 children. And I have to admit there are times it's been super tough. It has been super tough. And I think we all carry that guilt with us along the way. But what's really important to me is that I am that role model for others, that we have this super successful FinTech team, hugely led by women, but also others coming through the firm can see that you can actually have a super successful professional life and a successful home life as well. So that's always been really, really important to me.
That's so inspiring, Hannah. And I know that our audience will really appreciate hearing that journey. Lauren, let's turn to you. How did you get to the position you're in today?
Yes, so definitely did not start out thinking, oh, I would love to have a career in fintech. I think it's one of those things where I've really followed what I've loved doing and ended up in this absolutely brilliant role. So I joined KPMG originally on our graduate scheme in our tech risk consulting practice, which I really enjoyed. And it was a great kind of entrance into the world of work, shall we say. But quite quickly went on to comment within KPMG to set up our blockchain centre of excellence. So this was really at a time when businesses were starting to think about the technology and how they'd perhaps be able to implement it in their own businesses. And the context there is actually I wrote my master's dissertation on the commercialisation of blockchain and the role of advisory firms in supporting that. So as part of that work, I was then introduced to the part of the firm that works with startup and scale-up businesses. And then given the size of the fintech market and how many businesses we were very quickly supporting, as Hannah's mentioned, it made sense to then specialise within fintech. And then I've been working in that role ever since. So it's a very unique role. And I think when I started, well, firstly, when I was looking at what careers are out there, would never even realise that somewhere like KPMG would have a role like mine. But I love working in it because it's brilliant to work at KPMG and there's some fantastic people I work with across the firm. But then I also get to support fast-growing early-stage businesses on a daily basis, and we get to meet some absolutely incredible entrepreneurs. And to be able to really add a lot of value at that stage of their journey is really, really rewarding. So I absolutely love it. And I think it is worth mentioning that having the likes of Hannah around me as such inspiring role models is so valuable as well. And as Hannah's mentioned, being able to see that actually as a woman you can have it all, and you can have that wonderful family, but you can also have like a wonderful, rewarding career as well.
That's great, Lauren. And I have to say, you can feel your passion and your energy for the role. So it's really exciting. So now I'm going to ask both of you if there was a pivotal moment or a key challenge that significantly influenced your career. Hannah,
So,
with you. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much, Soon. I mean, there's been, I suppose, loads of pivotal moments along the way and challenges. But the fintech space, for me, we touched a little bit on, KPMG thinking about taking on some of these clients 5 or 6 years ago. There was myself and a small group of us that actually devised, shall we say, KPMG's risk policy internally to make sure that we could act for our fintech clients going forwards. And then myself and actually another female partner helped to devise the risk policy to allow KPMG to take on crypto clients almost 2 years ago now. And these were real pivotal moments for me within the firm, because it meant that the firm was protected, but it meant that we could suddenly grow this space that we were really passionate about, and that we could seek to work with all forms of fintech businesses and crypto businesses in this space, not only for tax services, which obviously I know and love, but services across KPMG. And there was a particular moment for me, I think, a few years ago, where we'd actually managed to secure a VAT refund claim for one of our smaller fintech businesses. And that sum of money bridged the gap for that business between where they'd raised a small amount of money in their Series A funding round. And it meant the business could continue. And suddenly these things started to mean that actually the services KPMG were providing were really, really important to these businesses. They were in some instances the difference between succeeding and failing. And I felt like we at KPMG at that point were starting to make a difference. So the real pivotal moments that sort of stick in my mind in this particular space.
That's so interesting, Hannah. It gives a lot of clarity in terms of decision as well. Lauren, what about you?
Yeah, I think I would just echo what Hannah said, really. I think the pivotal moments were really when KPMG have decided to really see fintech as an area of growth and investment for the firm, and the importance of supporting these fast-growing businesses. And when we've kind of decided to build the fintech team out as a separate practice within financial services, that's just meant that we've been able to go from strength to strength as a practice. And it's also meant that there's been a real kind of career path, I suppose, for myself to follow. And I think it goes without saying, but having such a great team around us has been fantastic, and it makes it a very rewarding part of the firm to work in. So that's definitely been one of the kind of guiding principles, I guess, of where we've ended up as a team, and kind of where I've ended up in my own personal journey as well.
So then building on that, and the flip side, what is the accomplishment you're proudest of? Or actually, what advice would you give to other women that are aspiring to leadership roles in the industry?
So this is a really interesting question, because my father, who passed away a number of years ago, used to say this to me all the time. He said, focus on what you want to achieve, not what you don't. And lots of us all run around going, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. But actually, if you focus on the thing that you want and really focus on it, my advice to other women would be you can achieve it. And I say it to my daughters as well along the way as they're sort of growing up. And we have got, as Lauren has mentioned, a hugely successful fintech team that we're all really, really proud of. And it is a very diverse fintech team, with lots of women in leadership roles and other people in other roles within that fintech team as well. And the proudest moment, I think, for me, certainly over recent years, was formally being appointed co-lead of our fintech team across the UK. And then I will take on the actual full leadership role of that team in July of this year. So super proud moment for me. And again, another opportunity for me to act as a real role model in our financial services space at KPMG across the firm.
And huge congratulations on that as well, Hannah.
Thank you.
Lauren.
I think the other thing I would just add to that is, as we spoke about before, I didn't set out to think, oh, that's exactly what I want to do in however many years' time, to be in a leadership role in fintech. I think speaking to lots of different people across the industry, even more widely than just fintech, to even know what's out there and really finding an area that you enjoy and where you will thrive. I think that's where it will automatically end up that you'll do well, and then you'll, hopefully then end up into kind of more senior positions. But I think having guidance, having mentors across a different range of parts of the industry and then beyond is incredibly important. But I think, rather than getting too fixated on, I definitely want to do that, just being very open to what's out there, I'd say. And I think then the opportunities that work for you will come your way.
And how important for both of you were mentors? When starting out in your career or moving through, did you have any mentors or key people that you really look to for that advice?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely did. And this is turning back the clock a good few years now, but I had a mentor that I worked very closely with when I was sort of coming up through the ranks of the Big Four. And that individual changed my career. I was quite nervous about going for senior roles at the Big Four. I didn't think perhaps I could do them. Strangely struggled with a little bit of confidence in those days. And actually having somebody that tells you can, rather than thinking that you can't, makes an enormous difference. Mentors, when they are good at their job and are there along the way with you, can literally transform your career. And that's how I certainly felt about this individual that I had as a mentor for a number of years, until he sadly took retirement a few years ago. But he certainly changed my focus, my perspective, and the way I felt about myself. And I miss him considerably, actually. But mentors, I think, are hugely important. And if you can find one that supports you and doesn't judge you along the way, I would say hang on to them, for all of your career journey, or for certainly as long as you can.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. And I think as much as it's important in the early stage of your career, it's also that kind of ongoing conversation that you need to have as well. It becomes, if anything, more important, I guess, as you become more senior. So obviously there's a lot of people that I look up to and I have as kind of perhaps more informal mentors. But again, one scheme that we have at KPMG is all around called Next Generation Voice. So it supports our graduates and assistant managers across the firm. And so years and years ago, when I was an assistant manager, I was connected with a partner in a completely different part of the firm. And we've remained connected ever since, and we still catch up quarterly. And I really value having that senior voice that's a bit separate from my day to day. And that's been so useful to continue to speak to him. And he's obviously very generous with his time to continue supporting me, but he's now seen me through a number of promotions, which has been wonderful. I think the other thing to also mention is the power of reverse mentoring. And, I work with a lot of more junior colleagues and people external to KPMG as well. So to give a few examples, we work with a number of charities that support young individuals from underrepresented backgrounds, from universities to support them into getting into consulting firms. And I've worked with a number of females in particular that have considered a career in fintech and continue to support them. And I learn an incredible amount just from those conversations. And then more widely in financial services at KPMG, we've got a wonderful program called the Raise You program, which was launched back in 2018. And that's a 12-month program for, again, underrepresented individuals to support them with career development. And again, I've learned so much just from being a mentor on that program. So I think having those connections works both ways. And I would strongly encourage anyone at whatever level to think about how you can kind of pay it forward, but also, think about who you want to have around you to help guide you in your own careers as well.
Thank you both so much. I mean, this has been absolutely illuminating listening to the two of you. So I want to ask one final question, which is really future looking. And considering the evolving landscape of fintech, and particularly UK fintech, what do you envision as the future of the industry? How do you think KPMG's fintech team can contribute this? And also, how do you think that DE&I will have a role in driving the future of fintech forward?
Yeah, thank you, Ginny. We often ask ourselves here at KPMG what we think the world of fintech will look like when we look ahead. And there's often a joke between all of us as to whether we'll all look a little bit like robots, and financial services will be happening with little chips in our arms. But I suppose the question is, who knows? Over the last 5 years, we've seen our financial services, our fintech market evolve and change so much, from businesses that were disrupting small parts of our financial services industry to now almost an entire disruption across the board, from payments, lending, AI, blockchain, crypto, all of those things. So I think if you turn the clock forward another 5 years, I think the financial market in the UK and across the globe will have materially changed significantly. And it's our job as a fintech team to keep up with all of that change, to make sure that we have people within the business that are knowledgeable enough to understand the change and work alongside our clients that are changing as well. Not only fintech businesses, but also our financial services businesses that are having to keep up with this change as well. So have the knowledge at KPMG to work alongside all of this change, but also make sure that our fintech team continues to actually grow, and that we have the individuals within that team that have the opportunities to work in all of this change. And of course, KPMG itself is looking at the services that we provide, particularly in things like AI, etc. And perhaps how can we work better with our fintech market? So we have a number of alliances at KPMG at the moment where we go to market with fintech clients, and we intend to evolve that much, much more over the next 12 to 24 months. So I think the vision of the future for us is making sure that we keep up with the evolving market and the pace at which it's moving, but also that we at KPMG continue to contribute to that as well as a business. And DE&I is immensely important and personally hugely important for me in this space. We certainly expect our fintech team here at KPMG to continue to be as diverse as it is, but also the market of fintech needs to reflect the market that we have here in the UK. And essentially, we have a number of different sort of diverse opportunities in the fintech space going forwards, particularly for women. I think if we see more women being supported in this space, certainly supported by KPMG, supported by the market and the funding market, I would like to see that as the fintech world changes, we have a number of females leading in that space, a lot more than we have today.
Yeah, and I would obviously echo everything that Hannah's just spoken about. But I think, when I reflect on where will the industry be and how can we support, these businesses are really a core part of our UK economy now, and we continue to see them go from strength to strength. And I think KPMG have a really valuable role to play in helping these businesses with their sustainable growth. And for those kind of key areas like listing their businesses, for example, there's a lot we can do to support that. But also it's the broader support we can offer within the ecosystem. So we do a lot with government, we do a lot with academia, and kind of the broader, I suppose, support mechanisms within the fintech ecosystem as well, to really ensure that these businesses are set up for future growth and ultimately success in the longer term. And just reflecting on the question about the role of DEI in the future of fintech, Hannah and I have spoken about this many times between us, but there's a lot of research that shows that actually when you have more gender diverse teams at the executive level, you actually ultimately produce more productive, effective businesses. And ultimately, if you can have more diversity of thought, that can only be a good thing. And I think the more inclusive that we can make sure the industry is, the better, because the more brilliant talent we'll be able to attract to the industry, and means that ultimately the industry will continue to grow. So I think there's a lot more we can be doing, and Hannah and I are obviously very committed to supporting in whatever way we can. But I think it's also important to recognise we have come a long way as well, but really looking forward to seeing what the future holds.
Words to live by. It was absolutely fantastic to have both of you on the podcast today. A huge thank you, Hannah and Lauren, for joining us. And we are really excited to look forward to the future and see this momentum continuing when we look at diversity and inclusion in fintech. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in as well. And stay tuned for more episodes every Friday on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, and innovatefinance.com. Thanks so much. Bye for now.